This is a video I've been inspired to make by Swag Kage and Seth the Programmer. They both ranked the Hokage, Seth ranked the Uchiha, and recently they talked about a Hokage versus Uchiha fight. Really, I just want to share my opinion on the Hokage and Uchiha by ranking them together. Both these groups are easily the two strongest groups in Naruto. I just want to see which group is stronger overall. At the end of the video, I'll reveal a tier list and talk about each group's average rank and tier. Just remember that just because someone is higher on this list doesn't mean that they would win in a 1v1. Some consecutive rankings were decided by a 1v1, but not all of them. I'm also going to be ranking everyone by their peak, with a few exceptions. For Kakashi, I'll do War Art Kakashi because Dual Mangekyo Sharingan Kakashi existed for about 5 minutes. For Minato, I won't consider KCM mode because he was dead when he could do that. I'll be ranking a live Minato instead. Those are the major exceptions, but anyway, let's start from the bottom of it.
Lightning Blade!
At number 14, I have Kakashi. Kakashi and Tsunade are really close when it comes to who the worst Hokage is. War Kakashi is really impressive, but I don't think it quite reaches Tsunade's level. I think that he becomes really close, but he just lacks the punch. Kakashi is a Swiss Army knife, and Tsunade is a machete. One may be more useful from day-to-day things, but I know which one I'd want in a fight. Kakashi is one of the smartest characters in the whole show, and he's able to make the most out of his arsenal. He's decent physically and has a deep jutsu arsenal. His main threats are Kamui and Chidori. Before the war arc, he could hardly use them much, but his power buff in the war arc was the ability to use them very liberally. During Obito's last fight, while masked, he was throwing them out left and right because the plot demanded it. He is impressive during this fight, but it's mainly due to Obito's Kamui. Kakashi's Kamui alone is very situational. He can use it defensively and when opponents don't expect it, but otherwise it's kind of useless. I think people overestimate it. He does have an impressive track record as a shinobi though. He was a Jonin at 13 years old and was the first known Jonin of his generation. He grew up as a genius and a prodigy that could use all 5 basic nature transformations. He created the Chidori by adding lightning style to our Rasengan and made a name for himself with his one Sharingan in Chidori. Kakashi is one of the most solid all-around in the series, but that only takes him so far. The best Naruto characters are a lot more powerful than Kakashi, and that's important in Naruto. Once again, I bring up the Swiss Army knife and machete analogy. I'll explain why I think Tsunade is better when I get to her.
A medical ninja who masters the art of mitotic regeneration, the 100 healings, may break the first 3 rules.
At number 13, I have Tsunade, surprise surprise. Tsunade is not nearly as smart as Kakashi, but she has a much better arsenal. She's basically a tank that can heal through anything and crush anything in her path. Her punch alone is strong enough to crack Madara Susanoo ribcage. That speaks volumes about her strength, but she can also heal through almost anything. During her fight with Madara, she stabbed through vital organs several times and it doesn't really even deter her. In fact, if I remember correctly, she was fighting briefly with Susanoo's swords in her. Back to her physical ability though. Chidori and Tsunade's punches are roughly equal. Tsunade can throw out these punches whenever, and while Kakashi can only use a few in a fight. This makes Tsunade a threat at all times and makes her taijutsu much stronger. She can also heal through practically anything, while Kakashi doesn't have the same durability as everyone else on this list. Tsunade can also summon Katsuyu, which is a testament to her power, while Kakashi can only summon tracking dogs. I'd rather take a giant slug in a fight. Katsuyu can also multiply and heal in Shinobi, which was a huge advantage during Pain's invasion. Tsunade can also heal her allies very well and restore their chakra, and this was big during their fight against Madara, and she healed the Kage after Madara almost killed them. To wrap it up with the battle for the last debate, I just want to say swap Tsunade and Kakashi in a lot of fights and Kakashi is screwed. Kakashi would be of less use to the other Kage than Tsunade would be against masked Obito. Kakashi would be screwed at the Sannin Showdown while Tsunade doesn't do that bad against Zabuza. It doesn't hold up for every fight, but it works pretty well generally. Tsunade is just more powerful and is very useful as a healer, while Kakashi is very good all around. Overall, Tsunade is a Sannin and a well-respected ninja that's pretty anti-meta. It's hard to damage her and her punches are almost lethal. Kakashi and Tsunade are in the lowest tier, which I call the lacking tier. Basically, they are far off from everyone above them. The next tier is the need more feats tier, and that's self-explanatory. At number 12, I have Fugaku Uchiha. For those that don't know, this is Itachi's father. He was the leader of the Uchiha before their slaughter, and that says a lot. He leads the most powerful clan in history, briefly. He was also a candidate along Minato and Orochimaru for Hokage. That's good company to say the least. The only other thing we know about him is that he can use the Mangekyo Sharingan and can use Fire Style. Since he has 2 Mangekyo, he has the ability to use Susanoo, and should have another ability for MS, but we don't know what it is. Despite that, a Susanoo itself is very powerful. Tsunade couldn't do anything against it, and neither could Kakashi. That alone puts them above him. We don't really know anything about him though, so I can't put him much higher. He's an underrated character that I wish we knew more about, and it would have been awesome if we saw him reanimated in the war.
奴らに騙されるな。いつだみんなUchiha.
At number 11, I have Aizen Uchiha. He's Madara's younger brother, and the only reason I have him over Fugaku is because he has more combat experience, I guess. He lived during the Warring States period, so he probably saw more war than Fugaku. We know that he has 2 Mangekyo Sharingan, so therefore he has a Susanoo too. He was also a rival to Tobirama, and that's impressive. I wish I had something to say about him, but I really don't. He looks exactly like Sasuke, so I guess Madara reincarnated into his younger brother's image. He's just Fugaku with more feats.
You're the only one I can count on, my best friend. Protect the village and the Uchiha name.
At number 10, I have Shisui Uchiha. Some people may have reservations about him being this low, but I can explain. Koto Matsukami is one of the most powerful genjutsus in the series that doesn't even need eye contact to activate. He's able to change how people think without them even knowing, and that's huge. Genjutsu is very consistent in Naruto though. Obito was able to basically use Koto Matsukami on Yagura with his own Sharingan. You would think Obito could have used that against all the Jinchurikis, but that would have been boring. Sometimes Genjutsu is very powerful and sometimes characters forget exist. It's used whenever necessary and is only usually useful when one opponent is much stronger than the other. This inconsistency takes away from Koto Matsukami, but if I were to highball it, Shisui would be about 2 spots higher, give or take. Moving past that, Shisui is a very talented shinobi. He mastered the body flicker technique, and this basically means he can move insanely fast. He's a prodigy like Itachi, only was the first Itachi really. He's excellent at Genjutsu and Taijutsu, and is just great all around. I really wish I could have placed him higher, but he's rather featless. Koto Matsukami is incredible, but Genjutsu is much better on paper usually. Despite that, he's still very powerful and is much like an Itachi that didn't get as much love and attention from the author. And of course, he also has Susanoo, so that's why I've got him this high on this list. He's higher than the other Uchiha because we know more about him. The next tier is the very good tier, and it's self-explanatory.
The seal is set.
At number 9, I have Hiruzen. Some people may be disappointed by this because of the prime Hiruzen hype that has gotten completely out of control thanks to Seth the programmer. I'm sorry Seth, but I just find it hard to believe that you can tie him with Hashirama while ranking the Hokage. Looking past that video is pretty good though. Anyway, I want to address some things that I think people overhype about Hiruzen. The first thing is his God of Shinobi status that he's supposed to have, and he's supposed to be the strongest Kage. That may have been true during part 1, but that was seriously retconned later on. He can't hold a candle to Hashirama, and I don't think he's stronger than Minato or Tobirama either. His databook page says that he's more talented than Tobirama, but more talented doesn't necessarily equal better, and we'll get into that more when we talk about Tobirama. There's also the instance in part 1 where Kabuto says that Hiruzen is the strongest Kage. This was in part 1 and was hundreds of chapters before the Kage Summit where we met other Kage. I really doubt that Kishimoto had much of a concept about people like Onoki and A, so it's hard to take that statement seriously. That statement is something that probably wouldn't even help him move up this list anyway, considering who was ahead of him. I don't want to beat Hiruzen down the whole time, so let's talk about him positively. He can use all 5 basic chakra natures, and his monkey stick is very strong. It has the ability to extend for what looks like miles, and push the Nine Tails out of the village. This is some serious strength. It was also able to cut down the limbs of the God Tree pretty well, while Tobirama couldn't even do that. He also uses the Reaper Death Seal, but that's a suicide move, so it's more of a last resort type of thing. He was able to seal a heavily nerfed Hashirama and Tobirama, and seal Orochimaru's arms in his final battle at 70 years old. People lose their minds over this, but remember that Jiraiya fought Pain in his mid-50s, and didn't complain about his age once. Hiruzen was about 15 years older, but that's not as impressive as people think. He was definitely way past his prime in that fight, however that does not make him a god of shinobi. He's definitely strong, but there's just a lack of evidence that would put him any higher. What's above him is very strong, so we can't take that away from him. A young Hiruzen was probably a force to be reckoned with, and was significantly stronger than the Sannin individually. That doesn't automatically make him higher than the next few above him though.
You brat full of Uchiha evil. In that case...
At number 8 I have Tobirama. This is another polarizing character, but I think it's a fair ranking for him. I do truly believe he is better than Hiruzen because I find him more impressive despite him not having as much natural talent. I first want to talk about moments that make Tobirama look very weak. These are inconsistencies and misconceptions, and I'm going to clear them up. First off, his death to the Kinkaku and Kinkaku force is not something you can really hold against him. First, let's ponder this. He was in a group with Danzo and Hiruzen and the others. Those three are overpowered, so let's assume their other allies were also the best the Leaf had to offer. They were surrounded by 20 shinobi, and despite being in a stacked group, Tobirama made the call to be a decoy. Tobirama made an educated guess on who the group was, and didn't think that Hiruzen, Danzo, and himself could take them on along with their allies. This context makes it excusable that Tobirama didn't defeat all of them alone. Plus, Kinkaku and Ginkaku had version 2 tailed beast mode, along with 18 other talented shinobi. I think that was the only misconception about Tobirama, so let's talk about the inconsistencies. People like to bring up that he can only summon 2 shadow clones, so therefore he has low chakra reserves. Strangely enough, I can't find in the manga when he used the shadow clones, so I don't know the context, but I do know this. Tobirama was able to teleport the full Nine Tails, Minato, and Naruto with ease during the war arc. When Minato teleported the Nine Tails, he was basically out of chakra, and Minato is actually someone that has a lot of chakra. Another example of his high chakra reserves would be when he very visibly flexed them and scared people like Sasuke, Orochimaru, Minato, and Hiruzen. The Senju are known to have high chakra reserves too, but I digress. He's a genius who created several influential jutsus in the series. He created the Flying Raijin, Edo Tensei, and the Shadow Clone Jutsu. Creating those jutsus show that he's arguably one of the smartest characters in the series. He's also very proficient with water style. He also really makes the most out of his arsenal. I have to take away Edo Tensei away from him though because he considers that a forbidden jutsu and won't use it. I also have to take away his tandem paper bomb because only reanimations can use it. Feats wise, he was able to kill Aizen and Uchiha who had the Mangekyo Sharingan. He was also very helpful against Jubito. Tobirama is just a very well-rounded and powerful shinobi that is polarizing among Naruto fans. The next tier is the demigod tier, and it's self-explanatory. At number 7 I have Itachi Uchiha. Just like Hiruzen and Tobirama, this is another character that many people overrate and underestimate. I think their spots on this list is fair though. Itachi was a prodigy that from a very young age was very smart and very skilled. By age 11 he was in the Anbu, and this was during a time of peace. People brag about Kakashi being a Jonin at 13, but that was during a war. Child soldiers were being used, so it would make sense that the best child soldiers were promoted to Jonin. Itachi is different because he was just that skilled, and that he could also be an Anbu captain at age 13. Beyond that, Itachi's arsenal is incredibly overpowered. He can point at you and place you under Genjutsu. How do you even counter that? Tsukuyomi is also a genjutsu that has the ability to kill you if Itachi wants. Itachi's novels show that Itachi can use Tsukuyomi and it be over so quickly that I can't even explain how fast it is. These novels show that Itachi can destroy people's minds and thus kill them after Tsukuyomi. I talked about how genjutsu is inconsistent earlier, however Tsukuyomi has been shown to be pretty consistent. Amaterasu is also a very powerful ability that can defeat the Eight Tails and can burn anything basically. He also has a Susanoo that has the Yatamira and Totsuka blade. The Yatamira is a shield that can supposedly block anything, however I find that difficult to believe. We don't see it block anything big directly, however Kirin may have destroyed it. Itachi took damage while blocking Kirin with Susanoo, considering he loses his Akatsuki robes from it. We don't know if Itachi used the Yatamira here, and we don't know exactly how strong Kirin is either. What we do know is that the Yatamira functions like truth-seeking orbs. It changes its chakra nature to counter the attack, but with enough physical force it can break. And finally, the Totsuka blade is incredibly powerful. This blade passes through objects, so it's not blockable by conventional methods. It's also so fast that not Orochimaru or even Nagato could react to it. They couldn't even move before they were paralyzed by it. The Totsuka blade defeated Nagato and he couldn't even react. I can't stress that enough. Itachi was able to defeat Orochimaru and Kakashi just by looking at them too. He was able to swap hands with KCM Naruto and fight alongside EMS Sasuke. He's one of the smartest characters in the series and can counter jutsus like Planetary Devastation and Edo Tensei. Overall, he is very powerful, but not quite as powerful as the person above him.
Why in the world does the 4th Hokage know my name?
Simple. I know because I named you. Because the truth is, you are my son.
At number 6, I have Minato. Minato is the highest person up here that wasn't born with or given any special advantages really. He did have Jiraiya as a teacher, but that doesn't compare to the power a Sharingan can grant you. Anyway, we all know that Minato is really fast, but I mean he's really fast. Exhibit A, Minato can flip kunais much faster than the Raikage, who's supposed to be the fastest of his time. Exhibit B, Minato can turn his body 180 degrees faster than 8 Gates Might Guy can move. I don't need to say much more about how fast Minato is. Beyond that, he was the key factor in ending the Third Great Shinobi War and was made Hokage in his early 20s. That's impressive because it's usually important that the Hokage is older and has more experience when being selected. Other than the Flying Thunder God Jutsu, he can use the Rasengan, use Sage Mode, and summon toads. He can also teleport tailed beast bombs, by the way. This arsenal makes for a very powerful shinobi that has the feats to go with it. When he evaded the 4th Raikage, he was fast enough to teleport back to him and was able to almost stab him before B stopped him. This scene implies that Minato could stab the Raikage through his lightning cloak, something that Sasuke Shidori couldn't even do. He was able to block the attack with one of his 8 tails, and Minato clear cut through that. That's impressive by itself too, but I'll admit this is kinda headcanon. During the 9 tails attack, he was able to figure out Kamui and defeat Obito in what felt like less than 10 minutes. Minato is really the only person that has gotten past Kamui, with the exception of Kakashi. Kakashi has Obito's other eye though, so Minato doing this is way more impressive. He was able to stop Kurama from firing a tailed beast bomb on 2 separate occasions, and sealed him with the Reaper Death Seal. Overall, Minato is incredibly fast with godlike reaction times, and has a few jutsus that make him a demigod. He doesn't quite reach the next tier though, which is the God tier. At number 5 I have Hashirama. Hashirama was referred as the god of shinobi and he needs no introduction. He's an Ashura incarnate and was the strongest of his time. He was able to defeat Madara despite Madara having the 9 tails with a perfect Susanoo protecting it. No one below him on this list can even hope or achieve something that amazing. After defeating Madara, he was able to capture all the tailed beasts and distribute them among the 5 great nations. The Akatsuki couldn't even capture all the tailed beasts, while Hashirama was able to capture all of them, with ease most likely. His dominance over the tailed beasts is so great that he can even fully restrain the 10 tails. Abilities wise, his go-to move is Wood Style. In base, he can create enough wood to restrain the tailed beast, and his Wood Style can literally catch a tailed beast bomb. He can also use Wood Style to absorb chakra and release poisonous pollen that was potent enough to briefly incapacitate the 5 Kage. He can also use Sage Mode, and when in Sage Mode, he can summon an immense Buddha statue. This statue is much larger than Kurama, and is presumably on par with the Susanoo armored 9 tails. His chakra levels are on par with the 9 tails too, and were so great that he could heal through practically any wound. People forget about this, but Hashirama can also perform medical ninjutsu. He's so good at it even that he doesn't even need to use hand signs to use it. His DNA was also very highly sought after his death. It can increase your physical strength greatly, and combined with the Sharingan, it allows you to use Izanagi. Overall, Hashirama had a great physical and chakra prowess that allowed him to become a god of shinobi.
It's about time for you to sleep.
At number 4 I have Jubito. Hashirama himself said that Obito was stronger than him, but this was while he was Edo Tensei. I still think Obito is stronger nonetheless. He was the host for the first 7 tailed beasts, and had a small amount of the chakra from the 8 and 9 tails. While he was the 10 tails host, he fought almost the entire Shinobi Alliance, killing many of them in the process. He was able to seriously wound the 4 Hokage, and do well against Naruto and Sasuke. His truth-seeking orbs were able to survive several massive explosions, and he himself was able to tank through a few very powerful jutsu. His Sword of Nen and Boko was able to destroy Naruto and Sasuke's chakra avatars at the same time with ease. This sword is dependent on Obito's will, and was really only destroyed because Obito's will faltered, while Naruto saw into his memories and desires. If he could have used Kamui, he would have been nearly unstoppable. He was able to create the Divine Tree though, which is about to kill Naruto before Hiruzen saved him. He could also create an explosion large enough that it threatened to kill the entire allied shinobi force, and he could create a barrier that they didn't even attempt to take down. Overall, Jubito was able to do very well against the entire world, and was even able to destroy a perfect Susanoo and Kurama avatar at the same time.
Shine upon the world. Infinite Tsukuyomi!
At number 3 I have Madara as the 10 Tails host. As the 10-tailed host, Madara was only missing half of the 9 tails, while Obito didn't have almost all of the 8 tails or 9 tails. I think people are generally fine with Madara being over Obito, but I can see people not feeling the same about Naruto and Sasuke being above him. We can agree that Naruto and Sasuke are equal at the end of the series, and the author confirms this. Since they're equal, I'd like to compare Sasuke to Madara because I find it easier than using Naruto. Sasuke at the Valley of the End uses the same tailed beast as Madara does as their host. This makes Sasuke's chakra power-up the same as Madara's, but he can also use Susanoo. Madara doesn't use Susanoo in this state, but some people say he can anyway. He may be able to, but it'd be out of character for him to do it. My point is that Sasuke has the same power-up as Madara, plus his Susanoo, making him superior on paper. Sasuke was also able to blitz Madara and cut him in half, while when Madara attacked Sasuke, he had no luck and was often countered by Sasuke. Madara's Truth-Seeking Orbs and Infinite Tsukiyomi also doesn't work on Sasuke. Moving on though, Madara is incredibly powerful in this state. He could tank through several hits from 8-Gate Guy, who was fast enough to bend spacetime. He was able to regenerate from the damage Guy inflicted too, and immediately afterwards was hit by Naruto's Lava Rasen Shuriken, which was able to clear cut through the God Tree. His Truth-Seeking Orbs can't be touched by people without Sage of the Six Past powers, and his Infinite Tsukiyomi can't be avoided without a Rinnegan. That basically leaves a handful of people that can even hope to defeat him. Naruto and Sasuke are stronger than him though, but if he could use his perfect Susanoo, it might be a different story.
At this moment, I'm the strongest in the whole world. And right here and now, this will be the first step that I take into the shadows.
At number 2 I have Sasuke Uchiha at the Valley of the End. You may be wondering why I don't use adult Sasuke, and that's because he only has one arm and no tailed beast. That makes adult Sasuke weaker at Taijutsu, and he has a weaker Susanoo, and he can't use Ender's Arrow. As for why Naruto is above him, I'll get to that when I get to Naruto. I don't have to do much to justify why Sasuke is so high, but I'll say a few things about him. He has a Ren's Sharingan and an Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. He has the ability to switch places with an object, which on paper is incredibly overpowered. He can use all the tailed beasts excluding half the 9 tails to power up his Susanoo, so much that he easily surpasses Naruto's Kurama avatar. He was able to tie with Naruto at the Valley of the End, and is easily God tier. And at number 1 I have Hokage Naruto. Hokage Naruto is stronger than Sasuke because he has the full 9 tails instead of half of it. When Naruto cancelled out Ender's Arrow, he only had half the 9 tails while Sasuke had the other half. If you add half the 9 tails to Naruto, then it overpowers Ender's Arrow, thus making Naruto stronger. Just like with Sasuke, I don't need to say much about Hokage Naruto. Naruto has the full 9 tails and a little bit of chakra from all the other tailed beasts. This gives him the ability to use things like Lava Release and Magna Release. Naruto by himself also didn't do bad against Kaguya, and definitely did better than Sasuke by himself. Naruto is just Naruto, and definitely deserves to be number 1 on this list, just like Sasuke deserves to be the number 1 Uchiha. Now looking back at the rankings and the tier list, we see that the Uchiha have an average rank of 7, and the Hokage have an average rank of 8. If we make each rank a number, with God tier being 5, to lacking being 1, the Uchiha have an average tier of 3.57, and the Hokage have an average tier of 3.14. This means that in my opinion the Uchiha are slightly better overall than the Hokage. That's just my opinion though, and you're welcome to share yours in the comments down below. Please like the video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe if you want to see more videos in the future. Thank y'all for watching, and I guess I'll see y'all next time.